Since our planet is made up of around 71% water, we all technically live on islands.
The mysterious island.
However, if we've learned anything from movies like Castaway or Madagascar,
this could be the best thing that's ever happened to us!
It's that not every island is filled with volleyballs and talking animals. From a little-known diamond island to a full-scale alien planet in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Here are the 15 most mysterious islands on Earth. Number 15, Diavik Island. In 1992, a group of diamond experts traveled to a remote subarctic tundra in the Northwest Territories of Canada on a mission to survey a diamond mine. This mine, the Diavik Diamond Mine, would transform this particular area into the epicenter of the diamond rush. But where was this mine, you ask? On an island in the middle of nowhere, of course. Some 220 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle sits a 569 square kilometer lake known as Lac de Grasse. In the middle of the lake lies the mysterious Diavik Island, the home of that fascinating diamond mine. What's most interesting about this particular island is that nobody really knew what it was until those large mineral deposits were discovered. But when they were, oh boy. In 2003, construction began at the site with plans to start mining for diamonds, and man did they get some rocks. Ever since mining began, over 100 million carats of diamonds have been recovered from this mine, including the largest ever found in North America, a whopping 552 carat yellow diamond. That's a lot of money right there. Despite this incredible history, very few people have ever heard of Diavik Island, and even fewer have ever visited. Maybe if they knew it was filled with diamonds, they'd be all over it. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14, Island of Socotra. Most of us will never have the chance to step foot on an alien planet, and that's probably good, as I imagine few of us would want to, but if you really do want to experience what it must be like, look no farther than the island of Socotra, easily one of the most unusual islands on the planet. Located in the Indian Ocean, the island of Socotra is an environment unlike any other on Earth. Since it's so isolated from the rest of the world, over a third of all plant life on this island is exclusive to this island, and doesn't exist anywhere else. That includes these odd-looking dragon's blood trees, which look like flying saucers on tree trunks, and trees like elephant's legs with flowers on top. But if you're more of an animal person, we have those too. There are at least 3 birds that can only be found on this island, like the Socotra starling, Socotra sunbird, and Socotra grosbeak. How unusual is that? But you're probably sitting here thinking, yeah, but there are a bunch of islands with plants and animals native to them. Well, okay, we'll leave you with this one. Some believe that the island of Socotra was the original location of the Garden of Eden. Talk about burying the lead, eh? Number 13, Palmyra Atoll. It won't surprise anybody to know that the haunted island of the Pacific is also one of the most mysterious. Still, there's a lot more to the Palmyra Atoll than the many paranormal incidents that have occurred upon it. Well, there's a little bit more. It's mostly the paranormal stuff. You know what? Let's just talk about that. To the untrained eye, the Palmyra Atoll is paradise on Earth, a tropical island south of Honolulu, surrounded by a colorful reef and without a cloud in the sky. And yet, it's one of the most allegedly haunted places in the world. The legends all tend to begin the same way. After a particularly bad wreckage, the crew of a ship finds themselves lost on the shore. There, the stories wildly diverge. Some stories tell of crew members vanishing, contracting unusual illnesses, or, in possibly the worst fate, they're brutally murdered and discovered months later, their corpses littered over the island. As yet, nobody has been able to explain any of the mysterious happenings upon the island of the Palmyra Atoll, convincing many that this is the most haunted island in the Pacific Ocean. Do you believe the legend? Let us know in the comments below. Number 12. Vulcan Point. No, this is not an island dedicated to Star Trek, although that probably does exist somewhere. Vulcan Point is something else entirely. An island in a lake, in a volcano, in a bigger lake, on a bigger island, in an archipelago, in the Pacific Ocean. Whew, let me catch my breath, and then I'll explain. Yes, Vulcan Point is a tiny island perched at the center of a crater lake in the caldera of the Taal volcano. One of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world, located south of Manila. And thanks to an eruption many decades ago, which caused a whole lot of destruction in the Philippines, the volcano created its own unique nesting doll geography, which is really something to behold. But despite this volcano being one of the most active in the world, tourists continue to flock to the site in hopes of seeing this mysterious island. That, obviously, is not a great idea, since we're pretty much just waiting for the next major eruption. But hey, you know how tourists are. While this is one of the most unusual islands in the world, there is one thing for sure. There is no bigger island, lake, volcano, bigger lake, bigger island archipelago in the world. And that's a pretty cool title to have, assuming you can say it without passing out. Number 11, Easter Island. You might not know Easter Island, but you will most certainly know its unusual stone heads. And if you know about those, you know about as much as the experts. Easter Island is truly one of the world's greatest mysteries. And, most likely, we'll never fully understand it. Some hundreds of years ago, a group of Polynesians made a home on this unusual island, naming it Rapa Nui. Over the course of several years, these new residents began constructing what are undoubtedly the most recognizable monuments of the entire island, those monolithic statues known as moai. But the biggest mystery of the island is actually not anything to do with these statues, but the residents themselves. When did they arrive, and why? Nobody actually knows, and it's still a hot debate amongst experts who just can't seem to agree on anything. Easter Island remains one of the most iconic islands in the world, thanks to those uniquely crafted sculptures. But when even the experts are baffled about the origins of it all, you know that we're looking at something truly unusual. Number 10, Island of the Dolls. Sometimes, when we're in the process of making these videos, we're forced to confront some unsettling things that, quite often, resemble nightmares that we've had. With that in mind, I'd like to welcome you to what may just be one of the most frightening things you'll ever see. The Island of the Dolls. The Island of the Dolls is pretty much exactly what you would expect it to be. A small island that is home to hundreds and hundreds of horrifying dolls. The island, known as Isla de las Muñecas, can be found just south of Mexico City and is notable for the fact that there are severed limbs, decapitated heads, and creepy-looking eyes all over the place. Why does this exist? Well, it's apparently a tribute to the lost soul of a little girl that died too soon, which is totally lifted from my nightmares. And, of course, when darkness falls, the legend goes that the dolls are possessed by the girl's spirit. Yeah, no thanks. Obviously, nobody truly knows the story behind the Island of the Dolls, but I think I speak for everyone when I say burn it. Burn it all. Number 9, Poveglia Island. The Black Plague was a difficult time for humanity, and an especially devastating time for those that lost loved ones. In Italy, the solution to this devastating disease was simple. Those that contracted the disease were to be moved to an island all of their own. Poveglia Island. At the height of the Black Plague, Poveglia Island was said to be home of over 160,000 infected people, a number so high that the legend says over 50% of the soil is made of human remains. That's a particularly grim legend, but neighboring islands have been found to hold mass graves for plague victims, so it's not totally outside the realm of possibility. For reasons unknown, Poveglia Island has not been investigated for similar findings. The island would later be used by Napoleon to store weapons, and as the home of a mental hospital from 1992. That mental hospital has also become known as something of a legendarily horrible place in which one doctor would allegedly torture and kill many of his patients. So, yikes. It goes without saying that the history of Poveglia Island is far from a happy one. It seems death has touched every inch of the soil in this place, but nobody actually knows the truth. Number 8. The Island of Bermeja. To call Bermeja an island at all feels a bit of a stretch. In actuality, Bermeja is more of a legend because, well, it's not there. While the island is known to have existed at some point, it seems like it's completely disappeared into thin air, and I can't think of any magician that could have pulled this one off. Throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, Bermeja could often be found on maps drawn by Spanish explorers, who clearly located it in the Gulf of Mexico. But by the 18th century, the island began to disappear from maps, before completely vanishing. In fact, the last time this island even appeared on a map was 1921, yet nobody has actually seen it in person since much earlier. All of that has led to something of a confounding mystery, with many maritime investigations and aerial surveys coming up empty. Mexican residents have also taken up the mysterious disappearance as something of a national quest, hoping to figure out where it could have gone and why. But for now, the mystery is destined to just go on. Number 7. Floating Eye Island. Don't let anybody tell you that Google Earth is a waste of time. For one documentarian, Google Earth actually revealed an island that nobody else even knew existed. Admittedly, it's a little more complicated than just an ordinary island. Filmmaker Sergio Nusplurm was exploring the world on Google Maps in search of some magnificent location that would be the perfect place for a documentary. But while exploring northeastern Argentina, Nusplurm happened to stumble upon an unusual natural phenomenon, a floating island that soon became known as the Eye, for reasons I don't think I really have to explain. The island itself is a circle of land around 118 meters in diameter, surrounded by a thin channel of water. It literally looks like an eye. But it gets weirder. As Nusplurm began investigating his new discovery a little more closely, he discovered, thanks to Google Earth's time control function, that the island is not static, but always turning on its own axis. The eye is actually nature's turntable. While we're not sure whether or not Nusplurm ever made his documentary, it stands to reason that no other island on Earth has its own axis to turn on. Well, that we know of, anyway. Number 6. Diego Garcia. They say no man is an island, but in the case of Diego Garcia, well, it's an island, but not a man. So, technically that saying is still accurate. But Diego Garcia is not the name of the island, but a highly secretive US military base. Nobody really knows what goes on inside Diego Garcia, since only military employees are allowed to enter. No journalists have been allowed near the base since it was established in the 1960s. All that we really know about this mysterious base is that it houses America's largest overseas airbase, and we only know that because the land is owned by the United Kingdom government and leased to the United States. Rumors have long claimed that the island was one of the sites used for the CIA's post-9/11 controversial interrogation program, in which detainees suspected of terrorism were held and tortured. These allegations have since been denied, but the rumors continue to persist. To this day, nobody can say for sure what happens on Diego Garcia. Due to strict non-disclosure agreements and severe threats on the part of the US and UK governments, we may never actually hear the truth behind this mysterious island. Number 5. Partridge Island. If you're one to believe local legends, then Partridge Island is quite literally a God-given miracle. Native legend tells of a great hero god named Gluskop, who used his club to smash a dam, which in turn caused a chunk of the dam to be carried to the mouth of a harbor, and blessed the world with Partridge Island. Or maybe it's just always been there. We don't know. Partridge Island is named obviously because of the huge amount of birds that existed on the island when it was first discovered by French explorer Samuel de Champlain in the 1600s. By now, you're probably wondering what makes this island so mysterious. I mean, we seem to know a lot about it. Well, maybe we're just smart. Okay, you're not going to fall for that. What makes this island so mysterious is the fact that nobody is actually allowed to set foot on it. Since the mid-1990s, it's been illegal for anybody to cross over onto the island, meaning that very few people have ever seen the island in person. However, as recently as 2018, a company has been legally providing tours of the island for local kayakers. Although who knows how long that's going to last. Number 4. Earthquake Island. I doubt anybody would want to take a vacation to a place called Earthquake Island, but there's always one. However, even if you wanted to take a little trip to Earthquake Island, you'd be out of luck. This mysterious little place has now all but disappeared, and nobody really knows how, when, or why. The creation of Earthquake Island was a complete accident, the product of what's known as a mud volcano, which is what comes of a buried mud being liquefied by moving tectonic plates and launching up toward the surface. That earthquake, which in this case was a 7.7 magnitude quake, carries rocks and boulders up to the surface, giving us this new island, which at its time of existence was around 295 feet wide and 130 feet long. But, again, that was at the island's time of existence. Satellite images have since shown that the island has all but vanished, and nobody fully knows why. NASA have claimed that this is a common occurrence with mud volcano islands, but that's not an especially helpful comment when you're writing videos about it. The island clearly wasn't built to last, which is a real shame. However, given the nature of mud volcano islands, it's highly likely that the island will make a return at some point. Let's just hope we notice it. Number 3. Bannerman Island. We're going to share with you a secret that many native New Yorkers don't even know about their own city. In the middle of the Hudson River, there is an island. This island was once home to a Scotsman's unusual fortress, and the story behind that is even weirder. Centuries ago, a Scotsman by the name of Bannerman constructed a fortress on this island, but not a live-in fortress. That would obviously be insane, wouldn't it? No. He built this castle so he could store his massive arsenal of weapons. A much better use of his time and money, I'm sure you'll agree. We don't really know what was stopping him from just keeping the weapons in his own home, but I guess this was a period in which having your own island arsenal was a prominent status symbol. So we'll go with it. However, nobody has ever really been allowed to visit the island, owing to a whole bunch of generational changes. During the Native American and Dutch settler periods, those residents were terrified of spirits and effectively kept their distance for their own safety. Then, from 1900 onward, the public has effectively been banned from visiting due to their safety. It's almost like building a weaponry fortress on an island in the middle of a river wasn't a good idea. Number 2. Vosrojdeniya Island. Thankfully, biological warfare has not been something that we as a human race have had to deal with over the course of our centuries on this earth. But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been extensive testing in some of the, shall we say, shadier areas of the globe. After the death of President Islam Karimov in 2016, Uzbekistan began to make some unusual moves. They started opening the country up to outsiders in a way never before seen. Places once deemed secret were suddenly being offered to visiting tourists, seemingly out of nowhere. One of these secret locations was Vosrojdeniya Island, which is almost definitely a place you've never heard of, and if so, the Uzbekistan strategy worked. During the Cold War, the Soviets used the island of Vosrojdeniya to test a new breed of extreme biological weaponry. Today, the island is empty. but a chemical analysis revealed that the sand is rigid with carcinogenic chemicals, which really isn't all that surprising given the place was basically a manufacturing hub for death. The Uzbekistan government has now begun working on making Vozrojdeniya appealing to tourists looking for their next Insta-worthy location. But given that so many have died at the island, it's probably not going to be trending anytime soon. Number 1. Snake Island. I'm sure it must be a lot of pressure to have to name an island, but is it really a say-what-you-see type exercise? Apparently, the answer is yes. Or at least it is if you happen to be naming a niche Brazilian island with a hell of a lot of snakes. Snake Island lays around 93 miles from Sao Paulo and is one of the few islands in the world to have absolutely no human development on it whatsoever. The reason for that is pretty apparent. For every square meter, there are around 1 and 5 snakes surviving and thriving. Indiana Jones's worst nightmare. And we should probably stress, in case you haven't already worked it out, these are not small snakes. In fact, Snake Island is home to a unique species, the golden lancehead. This single snake measures around half a meter long and is responsible for over 90% of all Brazilian snakebite-related fatalities, making it one of the most dangerous snakes on the planet. Snake Island is not a must-visit attraction for tourists hoping to explore all that Brazil has to offer. In fact, nobody really understands how this place came to be home for so many snakes, and we likely never will. Because, well, everyone that goes there dies. Which of these islands would you most like to check out? Let us know in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now. See you next time.